It's nice and misty out here today at our Crane's Roost Studios. Not really foggy, but kind of pleasant and gray. I was thinking the other day about something that I thought I might make a video about. I was watching something on Fox News a while back where they were talking about the different polls for the presidential election, and they're talking about how Trump always underpolls, or underperforms in the polling, and then in the actual election, his numbers are actually much better than what people were expecting. I guess if you look back at some of the last couple of previous elections, I can see where that might have been true. Like in 2016, a lot of people were like me, actually, that even though they voted for him just because they couldn't stand the thought of Hillary Clinton getting elected and putting a bunch of left-wing, gun banners on the Supreme Court to try and destroy the Second Amendment, that they still never really took Donald Trump seriously as a candidate. I mean, I used to think he was a joke. I'm one of those people who, I guess you could call me, I don't know if you'd say I'm an undecided voter in the way that a lot of people use the term, but I'm not loyal to one particular party over the other just as a religion, I've been a registered Democrat, I've been a registered Republican. Actually, at the moment I am a registered Republican, but the only reason I'm a registered Republican at the moment, I changed from independent or whatever, or no party affiliation a few years back when somebody that I knew was running for a seat in the Florida House, and I wanted to be able to vote for him in the primary, and that's the only reason I changed from independent to a Republican, As far as I'm concerned, there are crazy, crazy people on both ends of the spectrum, and people that I just don't agree with. I'm not one of those people who can say, okay, I'm just a diehard, down the line Republican or Democrat, and I don't care what happens. That's just the way it's going to be. That's who I'm voting for. But in 2016, obviously, as a gun owner and someone who is into that scene, and not wanting to see the Clinton machine come back to Washington, D.C., there I was, voting for Trump. And I have to say, when I saw the results coming in, that's the first time in a long time with any election that I actually felt like, man, I'm happy, It's just kind of excited, to see Hillary going down like that. 2020, man, what a screwed up time that was. Those couple of years really affected all our lives in so many different ways, and I think Trump could have walked into a victory if he had just been able to show that he actually cared about people, and that he was really concerned about the American people and the fact that there were people dying, instead of just being up there every day having a press conference with the perfect plastic politician Mike Pence standing there, and they pull his string and he says, "Thank you, Supreme Leader, for your great guidance in these troubled times," every day, and some of that craziness, But yet, I voted for him again. Kind of held my nose while I was doing it, but I didn't want Biden in there, Biden, in my opinion, was just an angry old man. He got pushed aside by Obama and didn't get his support 4 years earlier. And he had been wanting to be president of the United States for like the last 50 years, and he just couldn't give up on that dream. Once you get close to that, it's like a drug. You just can't give it up, That kind of power and prestige, and to have people talking about you for the rest of history. Look, this guy was the president of the United States. It's like when people talk about Trump, he's doing this all just for us. He's doing it for us, like he's not getting anything out of it, or like he gave up this wealthy billionaire's lifestyle he could have had to be president. There are a lot of billionaires in the world, a lot of people who are super, super rich. How many of them can say they were the president of the United States? The most powerful person on the planet, basically. And that's an ego trip like no other. So to say that he didn't get anything out of it, I mean, is insane. You know, for someone who is really as obsessed with themselves as he seems to be sometimes, there could be no greater reward. And especially, you know, with so many people like Obama saying he would never be president, you know, as soon as he said that, Trump decided he was going to be. And like I say, I was always one of those people who thought he was a joke, and yet I found myself voting for him, you know, just because that was our choice. You have this choice or that choice, you know, 1 or 0, yes or no, black or white, and you know, it's just a binary choice. You have to flip the switch one way or the other, and that's what you get. But I look at this election and I wonder if maybe it's not different this time as far as who's underperforming in the polls, because back in 2016 I could see where people maybe didn't want to tell pollsters or their friends and say, yeah, I'm voting for Trump or whatever. I think telling pollsters, I think a lot of times people just don't want to talk about this stuff, or maybe they do take some pleasure in thinking, okay, I'm just going to lie to this person, I don't know. But for me, I can see it more in terms of your family, co-workers, friends. If you know that they're all aligned a certain way, or if they all have certain expectations of you, and they think for sure, well, you're going to do this or you're going to do that, maybe you're not going to tell them what you're really going to do, you know? A lot of times Americans like divided government. And I can see a situation where people may want to keep, say here in Florida, might want to keep their Republican governor, keep their Republican senators, you know, representatives, whatever, but still put somebody different on top. There are a lot of reasons why people vote for who they do for the president. And it would be nice, you know, you could think, well, it's all just about this issue or that issue. But there are so many other factors in play, and we've seen that over these last 8 years. You know, I saw a thing show up on my YouTube feed the other day from President Trump going back to the debate thing, and how it was like 3 against 1, and basically, I forget the exact words now, like there were 3, basically like 3 mental retards, the way basically, he didn't use that word, you know, but basically, you know, very stupid, mentally limited people going up against one incredible genius, which I guess was him, you know. And I just thought, oh my God, really? You know, you know, there's only so many years that you can put up with this, listening to the same old nonsense all the time, and somebody telling you, look at me, I'm the world's greatest genius and all this shit, when everybody knows it's not true. And, you know, stroking their own ego like that all the time. I can see where there are people who, even though they voted for Trump a couple times before, faced with this current situation and a chance to kind of just totally flip the page and get rid of the old guard, you know, which we didn't have when Biden was in there. You know, we didn't have a chance to get rid of the old guard. It was either one grouchy old angry man or another grouchy old angry man. And the one grouchy angry old man was obviously going down fast in terms of mental capabilities and physical energy, and it was a pretty easy choice for a lot of people. And it's not like that now, you know? I can see where there would be people who would go in to that voting booth, and even though all their friends at work and everyone might think, oh yeah, they're voting for Trump, get in there and say, you know what, I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of all the nonsense, the constant ego stroking and bullying, and yeah, and just say, you know what, I want something different. I want to change, and we need to move on to something different in this country. And even though you might not agree with certain policies, we'll say with Kamala Harris or whatever, and you know, you also have to understand too that hopefully she's capable of being a pragmatic politician. A lot of people used to talk about how extreme Obama was, and to me he seemed like a very pragmatic kind of guy. And I mean, when he first got elected, I thought the Living Color song Cult of Personality should have been his theme song, you know, because that's all there was. We had no reason to think that he was going to be some super president. And yet, in my opinion, he grew into the job, and he had dignity about it. I knew a lot of people, obviously, you know, being a middle-aged white guy, I used to meet people all the time who just like tell me all their crazy stuff and like all their N-word jokes, you know, and stuff. And just the thought of having a black man in the White House just drove them crazy. And I realized how many people I knew who were just crazy racist. And then you see people who, they talk about how Obama was the most racially divisive president in the country, and like they want to lay that on him, when from where I was standing, the problem was all the crazy racist who just didn't want to let him accomplish anything. Yeah, your people in the Senate, they went out of their way to just say, we're not going to let this guy accomplish anything. And the dignity with which he was able to deal with that impressed me a lot. And I actually voted for him the second time around, you know. Like I say, I'm not, you know, this is not a religious belief to me, voting one way or the other for one party or another. And I had hopes for Trump, even though I knew he was an arrogant, you know, megalomaniacal, you know, person who was just in love with himself and liked to see his name on things, that maybe he would grow into the office of the president, and that he would learn to have dignity and behave in a manner that befits the President of the United States and have some respect for the office. And he never quite did that, and yet I still was willing to go ahead and vote for him again, just because the choices sucked, you know? But a lot of people out there, they have the same hopes, I think, about Kamala Harris. That even though she seemed like kind of a lightweight so far, that maybe she'll be able to grow into the office. No one is really fit for that office until they get in it. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of things with politicians, the people who really deserve to be in those positions don't want to do it, okay? The people that we would pick, if we just picked people on the basis of their qualifications, their intellect and so forth, to be President of the United States, those people are not interested in doing it for the most part. You get egotistical people who are in love with themselves, who want to see their name in lights, who want to be on the news all the time, and have to scratch that egotistical itch, you know? And those are the kind of people who end up in politics. And we just have to hope that we can force them to do something that is useful for us while they're stroking their own egos, you know? And I'm hopeful that if Kamala Harris gets elected, maybe she'll grow into the role and be able to show that she has respect for the office and, you know, represent the United States on the world stage with a little bit of dignity. And a lot of people here in this country, of course, aren't interested in that. They don't care if we, you know, run around looking like jerks, you know. They think that's cool. That's what makes us Americans, you know. But there has to be some kind of a balance in there. We don't need to, you know, get down on bended knee to other people, and we need to assert our position and our might when we need to do it. But I just think there are a lot of people out there who, even though they're not, you know, people you would normally think of as undecided voters, who might not have made up their mind right now. I watch Fox News a lot, watch The Five, and Judge Janine the other day was talking about, after the debate, you know, that she doesn't think it really changes people's minds. It's kind of like a football game, you know. People tune in to see how their side does and hope that their side scores points and has a great game. But it doesn't really change their mind. They still support their team when the game is over, you know. And, you know, of course, you know, like you've got Trump saying, everybody agrees, I won the debate and all of that. But then you look right after the debate. I didn't watch the debate. I saw pieces of it, but, you know, I wasn't really interested in sitting there watching the whole thing, the same old stuff over and over. I figured I'd catch the highlights later. But I tuned in to Fox after the debate. And Brit Hume kind of told it like it was, you know, it was Kamala's night. All the other people on the panel, of course, tried to steer it back to the approved Fox News message, which is that we got to support Donald Trump and be his cheerleaders if we want to keep our jobs here at Fox and keep our viewership up among the, you know, like 5% of the population that is rabidly pro-Trump, pro-Fox News, and doesn't want to hear any dissenting opinion ever. And a lot of people in that bubble, they don't understand that most of us aren't like that. The people who sit around and watch MSNBC all day and all these liberal media outlets, they don't really understand that there are people who are just not that far left straight up and down the line. It's the same thing with people who are watching Fox News all day long or listening to right-wing talk radio all day long. They just don't understand that a lot of people in the middle aren't that rabidly right-wing. And even if they may have voted for Trump before, you know, that doesn't mean that necessarily they're just bought and paid for and that you can take them for granted. And I think a lot of people right now are taking some stuff for granted that maybe they shouldn't. I don't know exactly how it's all going to play out, but, you know, it's like here in Florida, you look at people, you know, like we've got, I think, like 1 million more registered Republicans right now than we do registered Democrats. And a lot of people think, well, okay, you know, Florida's not really the kind of swing state that it used to be. But I wonder with this presidential election what we're going to find out. Maybe, like I say, people will say we want to keep all our Republican senators, our governor and everything, but we need a change. And they get in that voting booth and they think, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna like do this and see what happens. And maybe, who knows, there might be places where people think Trump's gonna, you know, win, even if it's just by a little bit or something like that. And next thing you know, there could be some surprises. I mean, of course, if that happens, we're going to hear all the stolen election stuff and everything again, and people trying to say that it was all rigged, you know. But it could happen. A lot of people who are just dyed-in-the-wool Democrats or Republicans, and like I say, it's like their religion. You know, people who, like, they were born Catholic, they're going to die Catholic. They were born this, they're going to die that. You know, it's it isn't like that for some people. And a lot of people, they look around the country today and they say, okay, things aren't like I'd like to see them. And Kamala Harris was in that administration while this stuff was going on. And we know she's had different opinions before about different things. That doesn't mean people, you know, like I say, politicians are there for themselves. It doesn't, you know, if they change their views, most of us understand that they're doing it sometimes for purely political reasons. And that's what we expect from politicians, you know? So I think that some of this flip-flopping stuff that the Republicans are trying to push, people know that, you know? And at the same time, a lot of people are just sick of the same old chaos and nonsense. And I have to wonder, you know, how many of these people who are kind of on the fence really want to spend the next 4 years with Donald Trump in their life every day, you know, listening to that stuff and the constant chaos and nonsense and self-aggrandizement. You know, you hear all the time people talking about this, you know, like the crazy legal cases that have been filed against Trump and stuff, and some of these things, and they say if they can do it to him, they can do it to any of us. You know, most of us normal people, we understand that they can do it to us, all right? What we want to see is that they can do it to the Clintons and the Bidens and the Trumps and people like that that are out there, you know? We already know they can do this to us. Any of us, you know, little people, you know, the legal system runs over us all the time, okay? So expecting us to have sympathy for somebody just because, you know, somebody went after them, you know, we're not the ones that told these people to pay off porn stars, if you want to call them porn stars, whatever she was, and things like that to keep their mouth shut and do all these other things, you know? We're not the ones who stood by and tried to get our vice president to like throw out votes so that we could sit around and say that the election was stolen, and then have people out there threatening to lynch him, you know, and stuff like that, you know? So, I mean, it's like, you know, now, of course, yesterday, I guess there was like this person trying to take a shot at Trump. Didn't get the chance to, but you know, and you'll see like the far right pundits telling us how, you know, this is all being stirred up by the far left. And yeah, okay, the far left is definitely going out of their way to get people mad at Trump. But Trump does a lot of outrageous stuff himself, you know. This chaos doesn't follow him just because he's such a nice, pleasant guy and doesn't have a knack for saying totally outrageous things and belittling everybody else. You know, the way he treated some of those primary opponents back in 2016 in the Republican Party, it's amazing. You know, as a man, I would have never been able to take that and then do like some of these, you know, politicians who don't care about anything except getting votes and not pissing off Trump's followers, get down on their knees and kiss his butt after all the things he's done to me, you know? And yet they'll do it because they're politicians. So they'll fall in line and let you debase them and treat them like crap just so they can hitch a ride and get election, you know, get elected. It's that's just politics, you know. But I don't think we should be expected, you know, by a lot of the Republicans and like the Fox News faithful to just fall in line and vote for Trump just because they tell us to, or they, you know, that's what the right wing is supposed to do. You know, and getting sympathy votes for being shot at, you know, I mean, you know, you hear Judge Jeanine all the time talking about how he took a bullet for this country. You know, he didn't really take a bullet, first of all. I mean, he got nicked. I'm not trying to downplay that. That somebody behind him died. And some of you probably heard of a guy named Winston Churchill who made a very valid point that there's nothing quite so exhilarating as being shot at with no effect. Yeah, he got affected a little, but the reaction that a lot of us have to being hurt or threatened or to being in pain isn't fear, it's anger and resolve, you know. A lot of us, you know, somebody tries to shoot you, you're going to jump up and pump your fist and say, you know, screw you, man. And so it doesn't make him some kind of a superhuman hero for America, the fact that somebody narrowly missed him and he didn't cry like a baby, you know. I'm impressed by it. I have to wonder what would have happened if Trump was, I mean, if Biden had been standing there, he probably would have fallen and broken his hip, you know. But that's why people were voting for Trump instead of Biden. We're not in that situation anymore. And I just think that on the Republican side of things, people need to not be counting their chickens before they hatch, because we don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people out there, I think, who really are undecided about that top position. They may know that they want to vote for Republicans. They want to make sure the Senate, maybe, or the House stays Republican, so that the president can't just do things that are unchecked, take away their guns and things like that. And but you can do that and still have some kind of change at the top and not have to deal with a replay of these last 8 years, you know. People are just more sick of that than some of them are willing to say, including what some of them are willing to say to their friends and pollsters and the people that they work with. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do.